Hello there. You might not have realised this, but one of New Zealand's oldest newspapers is currently in the midst of a bit of a rebrand. And it's not really that easy to see, and there's a reason for that. It's not a big rebrand like when KFC got rid of the word fried in its name. It's much more subtle than that, and it's there for two really specific reasons. You see, when you're the New Zealand Herald and you are a newspaper that's known for your conservative right wing views and your older audience readership, you need to find ways to bring new people in. Kind of like what soap operas do when they bring on a serial killer, because that's actually what the story was behind both Joey and Richard from Shortland Street and Coronation Street. It was there to grab younger viewers who were like, oh, what's going to happen next? And keep them going and keep them engaged in their stories going forward. It's very much the same thing here with a lot less death, thankfully. And they do this in two very different ways. The first is the type of content that they're putting out, which traditional Herald readers don't necessarily like. Having a look at this is a mock-up of a women's magazine version of the New Zealand Herald with actual headlines that have run over the last few weeks. In fact, this is all taken from within a 24-hour period off the New Zealand Herald website and their social media platforms. And yet, it feels like a women's magazine when you see content like this. It's a little bit different, though, when you see it in print like this, which is much more how we're used to seeing this particular type of content. And believe it or not, readership numbers for print have actually gone up for the New Zealand Herald, about 10,000 a year. So they're sitting at about 395,000 print readers a year at the moment, which seems like an awful lot for print. But who am I to judge these things? The other thing that they're doing, though, is they're bringing in stories about young people in situations that young people can hopefully relate to. Like this one here with my friend Sarah. Now, Sarah and I actually work together, and I know full well what she's up to at the moment. She's currently in Bali. She is doing her work remotely, and she's got her own very successful podcast around financial literacy and financial advice. And she's very, very good at what she does. Incredibly intelligent person. And having a role model like her in something like the New Zealand Herald still speaks really highly to their more older conservative audiences, while hopefully also engaging a younger audience who can sit there going, oh yeah, I could see myself doing something like that. Or that is totally what I want to do. This slow change that we've seen is actually part of a 3-year plan that the Herald's about halfway through at the moment. So keep an eye on what your media is doing, how they're updating what they tell you and the stories that they put out there, and give it a thought in terms of the audience that they're aiming for, because audiences are changing a lot, especially since COVID.